Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Welcome to part 2 of my review of 6 seasons in Sartar. In this video I'll be covering Chapter 3, Hero Questing, and Chapter 4, The Riddle. I'd originally intended to also do Chapter 5 in this video, however that would have caused it to go on far longer than I wanted, so we're devoting a whole part of that on its own which will follow this one at a later date. Chapter 3 begins with the statement that the following chapters of 4 and 5 give examples of adult initiation rites, both considered hero quests that one can experience, and the only one that an individual will usually experience in their lifetime. This chapter talks about how to handle them. In discussing hero questing, we need to recognise that regular Glorantha exists in the web of time, where days, weeks and seasons pass by and mortals live and die. However, outside of time there is existence that has no past or future. The god plane where the deities of Glorantha reside. It describes the mortal plane as a wheel with the god plane at the hub in the centre of all existence. As has been well documented, time is a result of the Great Compromise, with mortals existing within it and gods outside of it. The deeds of the gods are fixed, and what happened within the god's age always has and always will exist. It cannot be changed, and from the point of view of mortals, the story repeats constantly, with the sun rising and falling each day. The action of the gods are known as myths, and they form the pattern of reality, an unchanging stability on top of which the realm of mortals can exist. The place outside of time is somewhere mortals are not meant to venture, though these rules can and have been broken. For example, Nysalor and Sedenia have existed in the land of mortals, and some mortal heroes have journeyed outside of time. When this happens, it's known as hero questing. Mortals always have and will dream of existing into eternity, and the myths let them touch that place to a degree. There are different types of hero quests, with the most common described as the This World hero quest. That involves the reenactment of myth, recreating the acts of the gods, and by doing so, a glimpse of the divine can be observed. This is grounded in the mundane world, and the gods plane is called to the participants. It has a religious benefit of being essentially touched by the gods and feeling their presence, and they perform an important societal function. Another type of hero questing is that of mortals crossing over to a part of the gods plane that is accessible, called the hero plane. They are linked by a kind of interface where they become their god and attempt to repeat their deeds. These have huge impacts on both the participants and the communities they belong to, and by performing this kind of hero quest, the myth is reinforced and the community becomes blessed. Anyone can perform these kind of hero quests, however, it's best left to those who are capable, i.e. heroes, being loosely defined as those of rune lord or priest status. They should have RuneQuested before hero questing, firstly obtaining rune mastery before going on to greater world-spanning events. The last type of hero quest is what's known as the Otherworld hero quest, and these are the most dangerous, with only the strongest heroes even thinking of attempting one. This involves pushing beyond the hero plane and directly into the god plane, and here they're trying to create a new myth. If they're successful, the changes they make change the world on a fundamental level, adding their myth to history, and it makes the hero quest as act immortal. Upon death, the hero can join their myth and become a demigod, possibly even gaining a cult of their own. Next, we go on to how to build hero quests. Ideally, a hero quest should be a scripted journey, and it is simplified in this diagram here, with all of them beginning in the mundane world, receiving the call to adventure, and it is usually followed by an encounter with a guardian, and the way is then open to the hero plane, where they face a series of trials or tests. Walking the myth, encountering the same tests the god faced, and eventually at some point gaining the aid of a helper or mentor, maybe otherworldly entities or even the myth itself. At this point they face a supreme ordeal, that is facing the abyss, death and rebirth. With the ordeal passed, they collect their trophy. The hero quest then ends and they return transformed. It gives us 2 good examples of hero quests, one where a boy becomes a man, and the other where the Red Emperor cheats death and by doing so creates an enemy to his enemies. The next section details how you actually get there, citing 2 ways to cross to the hero plane. There are places on Glorantha where you can physically travel there, such as Magasta's Pool or the Hellcrack of Pent. However, the more common and easier method is the use of the rune spell Crossover, detailed here. So you may ask yourself, what are the actual benefits of a hero quest? Well, while the benefits are largely unseen, when performed annually as part of a community, they help sustain it by rooting it in eternal truths that are timeless, while also maintaining a connection between mortals and gods. On a more tangible level, other than testing one's skills or receiving a reward, it lists some other examples of other benefits such as plus D3% of reputation or maybe even +1 to power or charisma. When a rune priest or rune lord walks the hero plane, they gain tiny amounts of their own divinity, which could be on a tangible level of giving plus D6 to reputation, or possibly +1 to more than one stat. The third kind of hero quest is what is known as the Otherworld hero quest, and these are described as game-changing, which is an act of creation. These are the kinds of hero quests where demigods are born and kingdoms are founded or wiped out, and should be the remit of only the most powerful rune lord or priest lords with experience in hero questing, and completing this kind of quest makes them a hero. The example it gives is that of Calliad of Sheldon journeying to the sky world to defeat a god and returning to the world with a powerful gem embedded in her skull, gaining the name Starbrow, and Harak the Berserk going to the god plane and defeating the white bear god, returning wearing its skin that contained the essence of the god itself. These are designed to make Glorantha feel epic in nature, and completing these could grant plus 2d6 reputation, a pet dream dragon, or other very powerful rewards. These kind of hero quests are generally to benefit a people and not for entirely selfish needs. After this, we move on to Chapter 4, the Riddle. It's in this chapter that the author presents us an example of an Analdan rite that covers the initiation into womanhood, though it is given to us with the caveat that it is not the answer to Analdan's mysteries, but an answer. It's called the Riddle, and it's considered both a training session and a test upon their first menstruation, with it being mentioned that it bears resemblance to Greg Stafford's essay on Analdan initiation rites. It's been designed as an episode within the scenario as a solo portion with one player, not a party for people playing female characters. It is a test with a number of choices, and is presented as a journey of inward discovery, the awakening of their 5 souls, and giving birth to herself, and not really about adventuring as such. It is the journey into womanhood. There is a section on gender and the Orlanthe approach, that being of what is described as women shaped like men and men shaped like women, Nandan and Vingan respectively, and to be frank, it's a slightly complex issue best coined as your Glorantha may vary, though it is suggested that there are priests and priestesses that intuitively know which rite one should go through despite outward appearances. Essentially, do whatever needs to be done for your group and playstyle, and the decision as to whether Vingans menstruate or Nandans have the ability to bear children sits entirely within this remit. It makes the point that this chapter, the Riddle, and the following chapter, Rites of Passage, differ in theme and practice, despite being about children becoming adults. The journey of boys becoming men is done as a group, whereas the girls perform the riddle alone, with the premise that boys become men gradually, whereas girls become women after their first menstrual cycle. Additionally, both rituals are particularly different in what they say about being men and women. Women are given the role of continuity and the maintenance of life, whereas men fight for life to exist in a constant struggle against the dark forces. It also makes the important point that hero quests walked by women are the property of Analda and the Earth Tribe, whereas the paths walked by men are those that belong to Hjort, not Orlanth, with some viewing this as ancient Hjortlings saw womanhood as a chain of continuity reaching back to the Green Age, and men as individual motes of light fighting to hold back the darkness, though it is implied that this could be a notion belonging to the Haraborn only, with the Riddle being a Green Age temple that predates Hjort, and the men's being focused on Stag Hill, which is the burial mound of Jarstakas, son of Hjort. So, to the beginning. 3 days before menstruation, or the blood as it's known, the player understands that something is not right. There was a sensation of being both hot and cold, food not tasting as it should and smelling wrong. Things just feel strange. They catch glimpses of strange women, some bright, some shadowy, out of the corners of her eyes, and hears voices whispering in her ears when nobody is around. The blood then came, and she was isolated from the boys and men, relieved from her responsibilities and given a bitter black tea that made her feel like she was dreaming while walking. She awakes feverish and surrounded by ghostly females swathed in winding sheets of the dead. One of them reaches out a hand and says, "You must come with us." This is the woman awakening into womanhood. She is led out in the dead of night by the clanswoman to the mouth of the Riddle. Morganath, the high priestess, is here. The girl is stripped naked by the women with the priestess waiting nearby. She eventually steps closer and says, "We must journey in." Looking into the mouth of the Riddle brings terror, with the carvings of Babistagor looking fierce in the darkness. Morganath, sensing their fear, says, "Not in there," and places her hand on the girl's belly and says, "In here, to the source of your power," and then turns and walks into the dark of the Riddle. The girl is then washed with scented water by the veiled women and given more of the bitter tea and grows warm. A crown of flowers is placed on her head, and she is sensed by the smoke of herbs and grasses. She's then herded towards the entrance to the Riddle and told to go in. She will then enter the darkness. Stumbling through the pitch black of the labyrinth, she becomes bruised from the walls, and the darkness is filled with strange echoes and whispers, occasionally feeling something brushing her skin. The terror becomes almost unbearable, and it's as if the darkness is alive and hungry, that she is inside its belly and being devoured. She will remember that she was told it was death to enter the Riddle, with it being a labyrinth that no fire will burn in and no light will shine, and that when the women of the tribe die, their bodies are wrapped in cloth sheets and carried inside by the priestesses to be left there. At this point, the player should be asked what they fear the most, and whatever that is, assaults the character, and their levels of anxiety and isolation become devastating. It's at this point that they need to conquer their fear. If they've taken a fear passion, then they need to roll against it. If they succeed, they succumb to it, running, freezing or panicking. However, the player manifests it, and yet they can't find their way out, but it should be noted that they overcame their fear. If they didn't take a fear passion, they need to make a power ×5 roll. If they roll under it, then the fear is conquered. If failed, they panic as earlier. Whatever happens, onward is the only place to go. As they stumble forward, they see a dim light ahead and come to realise that the riddle is a spiral that curves to the right towards the centre and that it goes down. The light brightens and she will eventually find a stone doorway with Morganath waiting by it. Morganath will tell them that their 5 souls stare inside them and that each must be awakened. 5 souls, 5 senses, 5 elements, 5 seasons. If these are not awakened, then they will never be a true woman. Placing her hand on the girl's face, she will comfort her, praising her if she conquered her fear, and if not, try to encourage her, telling her that the elements will come to her in the form of young gods, lovers, partners, sons, brothers, and that they must be conquered. She is told to remember her stories as she walks in the footsteps of the goddess, and to do as the goddess did in order to come across safely. They then urge to go on. The next section is called Gata Rides Upon the Deep. It will now be revealed that behind the priestess the tunnel continues and the walls are illuminated by a pale emerald light. As she continues, she'll feel grass underfoot and the noise of birds and insects, with the air tasting like spring, and the tunnel will open out until it is a cavern that has a replica of a village, and with everything seeming larger than normal. The colours seem brighter and more vivid, the air is warmer, and generally everything is more intense. The girl will run into her female relatives, even dead ones. There are no men. The women will spoil her, giving her sweet green water and honey cakes, which taste more delicious than anything she's ever had. They will play games with her, sing songs and give her dolls of painted wood, which will make her feel safe and at peace, even tempted to stay forever. She will eventually feel intoxicated, with the sensations of air and warmth feeling almost erotic. At this point she will feel cool water wash over her feet. A stream of water will have appeared, and she will have the urge to follow it. This takes her to the edge of the sea. There is a great mountain beyond that dominates the horizon, and she will know she has to get there, but not how. The stream meets the ocean at a white fountain of water that rises tall, and a few moments later a handsome blue-green skinned man appears naked with a beard and long braided hair that is deep green. He will remain knee-deep in the water as the fountain subsides. The man will ask her where she's going and tell her that she is a woman of the earth and that she has reached her boundary. If she asks his name, he will say Zaramaka. If she says she needs to get to the other side to the mountains, his face will light up with desire. He will tell her he can bear her across the waves, but expect something in return, and it is obvious what he wants. At this point it moves to the notion of WWED. What would an elder do? The girl will understand that in legends, Gata gave herself to Zaramaka, and since then the seas carry the earth. If she decides to do what Gata did, Zaramaka will ask her to come to his arms and it should fade to black. If she has the water rune, she can roll against it. A success means a chance of increasing it later. Following this, she is carried upon the waves to the other shore with her first soul awakened as a sexual being. If she refuses, she can try to charm, bargain or the like to try and persuade him to carry her over, though Zaramaka is highly resistant to this. If she wins, he will take her across, though he is not too happy about it. If this choice happens, her first soul is still awoken and she still gets to roll against the water rune. However, this moves the girl away from Analda and towards the other goddesses such as Marangor, Babistagor, Taikor Atek or even Vinga. The GM should make a note of her choice. The next section is called Analda Spills Her Blood. Reaching the mountain, it's unlike anything she's ever seen, with a perfect cone atop it that reaches to the sky dome, and it's capped with a golden radiance similar to the sun, and she knows she must climb it. As she does, the sky changes and the radiance turns to heat. Her vision becomes sharper and she can see from one edge of the world to the other, and as she climbs, the heat grows. She eventually comes to a shelf where farmers have tilled fields, though the soil is dry. Nothing is growing there, and a figure stands in the field, a tall, thin man with flowers in his hair. He scatters seeds on the floor. Seeing her, he raises his hand and tells her that he is Flamal, asking her where she is going, though he is preoccupied with the dry soil, telling her that though he casts his seed, nothing grows and he has no way of irrigating it, nor cattle to offer as a sacrifice. She will remember that Zaramaka promised that her blood has the power to renew and give life, and the question is whether she will spill it as a sacrifice or keep it. Again, we go back to WWED, and the myth says that Analda agreed to give her waters to germinate Flamal's seed. If the girl agrees to do this, her second soul is awakened, the power of a woman's blood to give life. Where men shed the blood of beasts to the gods and of their enemies, women share it periodically to renew the balance of the world, aligning her with Analda, Esrola, and the life-giving gods. How the girl gives blood is up to the player, but as the blood touches the earth, the soil darkens and becomes verdant. Flamel, in awe, kneels and takes her by the hand, swearing loyalty and love to her. If she refuses, or if Zaramaka was refused earlier, Flamel will turn away in despair, and her alignment grows more towards those of the deep earth and death, like Tychoratek, Babistagor, and Vinga, and as before, the GM should make a note of it. The third part is Enalda in the House of Abundance. Should she at this point have been choosing the path of the life-giving goddesses, then as she climbs the slopes of the mountain it becomes covered in lush flowers, grass and trees. If she's been going against this, then the soil stays barren. She will eventually come upon the court of Yelm, the bright emperor, though will never be able to remember it again due to its huge splendour. It is rooms of gold and marble and gemstones, exotic songbirds and golden-hooved white horses that will come as flashes of memory and dreams. The great throne of Yelm will be remembered alongside that of Empress Dendara. The guards wear radiant armour, and Yelm looks down at her with blazing eyes and a face bright like the sun. Yelm will comment on her beauty and how he will make her an addition to his halls, saying that he assumes she can cook, weave and take care of children, and says he will make her the mistress of the loom house, the nursery and the kitchens, and also a favoured concubine. The House of Abundance are 4 Hjortling customs of basic womanly skills, that of turning wool and weaving, kitchen skills, tending children, and tending the injuries of wounded guards. These skills will be tested and rolled against. Once this is done, her third soul, that of the nurturing soul, is awoken, and an earth rune roll is allowed if owned. The more successes align her with the earth goddesses, the fewer with the martial ones. After the first roll is made, Enalda will behold Orlanth for the first time, and she will be in the throne room when the young Orlanth challenges Yelm in a contest of dance. Should the character already have a love interest or wish to develop one, Orlanth will appear as that young man. He should be shown as a vigorous, slightly wild young man. Before the dance begins, Orlanth will lock eyes with her, but they won't get a chance to converse, though it is clear it is an immediate attraction. While Yelm dances elegantly, Orlanth performs an aggressive war dance, and Yelm is declared the winner. After the second roll, Enalda is in the throne room to witness the contest of magic. Again, Orlanth sees her but does not speak to her. The contest is performed with Yelm showing the magic of change and existence, and Orlanth showing that of change and becoming, with Yelm again being judged victorious. Orlanth departs the hall with anger on his face, which is seen by the girl. The third roll sees Orlanth praising the girl and her beauty while Yelm plays a divine harp and Orlanth playing bagpipes. It's clear that he is mocking Yelm and not playing to win, causing the gathering court to burst into laughter, with the girl laughing at Yelm too. The judges again crown Yelm victorious, but before Orlanth leaves, he stops to speak to the girl, saying her laughter is like music, that he would love to take with him. Enalda replies, "Not today, Windlord. However, the players should be able to respond as they see fit." Orlanth will again ask her to leave with him, and the girl will find herself saying that a test you must pass to win me. You must challenge the Emperor of the world first. Orlanth will look her in the eye and say, "Next time." The final roll occurs when the court is assembled to witness the contest of weapons. Yelm strikes Orlanth in the heart with a golden arrow, though withers to nothing, with Orlanth uninjured, and who subsequently draws a weapon that causes her to recoil, a sword of blackness. If at this point she is aligned with the Dark Earth goddesses, she smiles and nods when she sees it. Orlanth then strikes Yelm, with it causing the mountain to shake and the fortress to topple around them as Yelm falls screaming to hell. The confusion finds the girl in her bedchambers with her chief handmaidens, with everyone readying an escape. Orlanth then bursts into the room and tells her that he must go. Seeing the great loom, which is too large to carry, Orlanth shrinks it so it's small enough to slip into a pouch and gives it to a follower. The next section is called Enalda Descends into the Underworld. The girl will find memories in her mind that quickly pass through and seem to belong to someone else. The world is enshrouded in darkness and storms, and the underworld gods flee to the surface to escape Yelm, who is imprisoned there. Winter comes from the north, and she sees herself as being Orlanth's lover, wife, queen, and mother of his children, though Orlanth is often absent fighting battles against the darkness. She finds herself in his hall and lands alone, and the darkness deepens and everything seems to be dying and going to the underworld. Food is running short, and the children are cold and hungry. Flamel has vanished, and she feels her power lessening. The enemy is coming for her, led by Non-Trier, someone whose love she once spurned, and he plots revenge, and with Orlanth and his entourage away, she is defenceless. Sitting in the throne of Orlanth's hall, the fires are low and a figure emerges from the shadows. Orgar, the troll god of surface darkness and occasional lover of Enalda. He will ask her what her troubles are, listening quietly, agreeing that the world is dying. He explains that his mother taught him to never face the enemy head-on and never face them in the light, to make shadow their ally and lead them to darkness, stating that the unseen opponent is unassailable. Her handmaidens counsel her on Orgar's words, stating that as everything is dead, could Non-Trier also believe that she was dead, and to journey to the halls of Tychoratek. A funeral is planned and she is bound in funerary garb, and a great procession marches from the hall of Orlanth. The army of non-Triad is met and he manifests the candidate's deepest fears, not believing that an elder is dead, demanding to see her body. It's here that the candidate must call upon her fourth soul, the cunning one. The girl can use the act skill or charisma ×3, though success or failure proves that non-Triad is too dim to see through the act, and he will grumble that she truly is dead. The candidate will become paralysed, feeling deathly cold, and the procession will continue to carry her towards her destination, the mouth of the riddle. She will suddenly remember everything about who she really is and the terror involved. Feeling like she's come full circle, she's carried inside by her handmaidens, slowly following the spiral towards the centre, eventually reaching a cavern so dark and cold she can't hear or see anything. They lay her on a bier and her senses lie to her. A voice then speaks from the darkness, one that gives the sensation of age, cobwebs and grave soil. The veil is pulled from her face and she realises that she is still alive. She can see faint corpse lights around her, and Morganeth can be seen again, only this time showing as dead and withered. She will simultaneously believe that she is and isn't an elder. She is and isn't in the riddle, but she is in the underworld, and Morganeth shifts between herself and Tycor Attack. The woman's icy dead hand strokes her cheek and she smells like a corpse. The girl will start wondering if she's failed, to wit Morganeth will read her thoughts and tell her that everybody fails and dies, and that the girl she once was is dead. Amongst the darkness, Morganeth covers her face again, leaving her to die amongst the ancient corpses interred in the riddle. This awakens her fourth soul, and she may roll against the darkness rune. The next section is called An Elder, Midwife of Time, Mother of Spring. The girl will not know how long she has lain in the darkness, and time seems to not exist for her. Terrible turns to despair, eventually settling into acceptance, and as she releases her breath and life, he comes to her and gives her new breath. The shroud will be pulled back and Orlanth will kiss her, filling her lungs, and she will stare and the darkness will give way to light, and she will see that Orlanth is not there, and will not be sure he ever was. She can move again and can see the great cavern filled with the dead, wrapped in sheets. She will fight her way out of hers and stumble towards the light, taking the form of a square gateway that leads to a vast empty space. It has a domed ceiling and the floor is smooth as glass that is black and flecked with white that makes it look like the night sky. Light pours forth from Yelm as the sun suspended in the middle of the room. Underneath this is Orlanth's ring, and beneath that is an elder at her loom, along with her 6 handmaidens. She is bare-breasted and beautiful, with skin the pale green of spring. Strands of white come from the darkness, and an elder and her handmaidens gather it up and weave it. She will turn to the girl and say that they could use another pair of hands. As she approaches, she will see a huge shape in the darkness that fills the whole side of the cavern, recognisable as a giant spider. An elder is spinning its silk. She will tell her that they gave birth to time and to claim her birthright. Approaching the handmaiden, she will feel pain in her womb and she will see herself pregnant and near to giving birth. Her waters will break and the pain of childbirth will begin. She will be left to birth her child alone while the gods weave, being told that this is her 5th and final soul, the soul of life and the greatest of her powers. The pain is immense as she will need to roll power ×5 to wake her final soul, giving birth to herself. The girl is dead and she will birth the woman she will be. She will be told that the 5 ages of the gods are woven from the spider's silk. 5 ages to birth time, 5 ages to birth the first sunrise, 5 ages to birth the first spring, and 5 seasons to birth a child. The birthing of the child will continue while the goddesses weave a strange collection of patterns, plant and animal life, humanity and the seasons and the stars. An elder will tell her that though she came here to die, her immortality lies in the power to weave the threads of life, and that she is the loom into which eternity is born. You are now a woman. Her 5th soul will awaken and she can roll against her air rune. As the birth ends, she will collapse and close her eyes. The moments later, she is lying naked on the cold stone floor of the cavern, which is again dark, and the goddess and her handmaidens are gone. She will struggle to her feet and sees a shape amongst the light that is glowing around her. She will see her own dead self lying in the waters of birth, though she still feels like herself. She will be told that this is the girl that she was, and she died giving birth to the girl that is. As this is spoken, her dead self will melt away, and the now woman will feel a cold wind at her back. She will turn to see a strongly built, proud woman with brown braided hair with snow in it and noble features. She will tell her that she is Yvonne, daughter of Gersteni, mother of Glorantha, mother of Desaventus, wife of Hjort, and that she is her mother and the mother of all Hjortling women, and welcome her to her people. She will tell the now woman it has become her burden to create new life to prevent hunger and her from extinguishing it. It is now also her responsibility. She will brush some snow from her cloak and walk, gesturing for the candidate to follow. They will walk out of the riddle, and she will answer questions that the girl has, though there are 3 main points that should be covered with that, being that the seasons of the year reflect the ages of the gods, and the world will wither and be reborn again, and that the year has 280 days, the number of days needed for a woman to conceive and give birth, and the power of giving life is the deepest magic in the world, and the 10 times in the year that girls menstruate is their tithe and sacrifice to an elder in return for this gift. She will tell them that this is a monumental responsibility and death is ever present, devouring the world. The act of creating life saves the world, and that continuity and tradition is a blessing and a burden. As they leave the spiral, Yvonne will slowly fade away and turn into Morganeth. As they near the exit, Morganeth will tell her that darkness and death walk the dawn and spring, and now you walk forth as the woman you are to be. She'll be greeted by the women that are important in her life, and will be washed, fed and dressed, then later tattooed, and an instruction on being a woman will begin. For completing this, the candidate will gain plus D6 to reputation, plus 1 to power or charisma, and plus 5% to 3 skills or runes that were tested, whether they failed or not, within the riddle. She will also gain a clearer vision of what path lies ahead for her, whether that be wife, mother, or something else. Okay, that concludes the second part of this series. The next video will cover Chapter 5, Rites of Passage.